Okay, so in my and my wife's journey down this Catholicism adventure path, I've wondered how much of this I've gotten right, how much of it I've gotten wrong. So I'm hoping that somebody watches this that has more experience in the Catholic Church than I, and one tells me where I'm wrong, tells me, okay, that's right. If there's nuance or no, that's totally wrong. Whatever, corrects me if need be, or congratulates me for having gotten something right. I'm more interested in the corrections than the congratulations, and yeah, I'm just I'd love to have a sit down with a Catholic. I reached out to one guy that has a YouTube channel. We didn't hear anything from him, but I'm just a guy, so why would he? So I'm gonna go through this list because I asked Grok what are the hardest questions for Catholics, and the list is the problem of evil, one, two, historical scandals, biblical literalism versus science, sexual ethics, exclusivity of salvation, transubstantiation, papal infallibility. So I'm just going to go through these top to bottom. The problem of evil. If God is all powerful, all knowing, and all good, why does evil exist? This hits Catholics and Christians broadly hard because it demands reconciling free will, divine providence, and suffering. The Catechism, CCC 309 to 314, leans on God's mysterious plan and human freedom, but skeptics often find it unsatisfying when kids die in disasters. This one seems really, really, really maybe the easiest one on here. If there is no black and white, I mean, this is discussed in what's that show? Matthew McConaughey and the first season, True Detective. He talks about how the stars at night only shine so bright because of the blackness, something like that. It's this is not some new idea that I'm saying here, but the only reason that you have two sides of a coin is because there are two sides of a coin. You can't have black without having white. You can't have good without having evil. And so it's the paradox of if there was only good, that wouldn't be good. It's like when Obama was asked, and a lot of right-leaning people got, I think, correctly upset for this, asked Obama something along the lines of what makes America great, or which country's the greatest country in the world. And I don't remember the exact question, but the response that people wanted him to say was America is the greatest country in the world, or maybe it was something about American exceptionalism. I think it was what it was like. Okay, what do you make of that? And he said, well, all countries are exceptional in their own ways. Okay, maybe. What is a third world country like Haiti exceptional for? Dirt cookies? I being absolutely gobsmacked when a hurricane comes through. I don't know. I'm speaking from a place of supreme ignorance on the subject of Haiti, but I don't know of innovations and a great number of beneficial world altering things coming out of Haiti. I'm not saying this to be disparaging to Haiti. I'm really not. I'm trying to paint a clear picture that to say that they are exceptional. Look, if you want to say that the individuals there are exceptional, sure. Everybody has their value. Each person has some merit, has some worth. But to say the country at large is exceptional because of all the things that they're bringing to the world, I missed the memo on that one. I don't know what they have a something the equivalent of Apple or Tesla or like what you get my point here. And so I have a wife because I am not married to anyone else. I have a wife and I am exclusive with this individual, this one person. That was a weird inflection. This individual, this one person, because I'm not with the other people. There's up, there's down, there's life, there's death. It's just, you can't have good without there being evil. It's that's how that works. Okay, number two, historical scandals. I really don't have to read this one, but whatever. How can the church claim moral authority given the Crusades, Inquisition, or clergy abuse scandals? Well, at least two of those have been completely blown out of proportion given recent studies and a lot of things. the Catholic Church has faced a lot of criticism. Some do, sure. People are not infallible. Well, what about? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. People make mistakes. There are errors, and the church is full of humans, and sometimes humans do things that are not great, not God ordained. And so, as far as the Crusades go, it was a mild retaliation. Look, you can't just keep on pushing, and not expect there to be some pushback. Inquisition, blown out of proportion. Sexual abuse, clergy abuse scandals, I don't know the extent of that, but even if it was one individual that's horrendous and is not to be applauded, to say the least, but and this says this forces Catholics to grapple with human sinfulness. There you go, right there, ding, 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 in a divine institution. That's it. The response: distinguishing the church's holiness from its members' failures can feel like a cop-out to critics. Okay, I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once was one of the worst overhyped movies I've seen in the last 20 years. I'm a critic of that movie. I thought it was a heap of steaming garbage, to put it nicely. And does that mean I'm the guy in front of the crowd, in front of all the people, all the Oscar, and saying, yes, you're all wrong? I mean, I'm not alone, thankfully. There's a few other people with me, but boy, the outcry that this movie is so amazing. I don't know what they were talking about. Insane. It was absolute, just drivel. So as far as the historical scandals go, people are going to people. It's not the church as a whole saying, oh, we should do this, oh, this and that. People are going to people. And only one of those would I say is unquestionably an error. I don't know enough about the Inquisition, first and foremost, to comment on that. I know I couldn't even really give you a 101 primer on it. The Crusades, look, you don't get to be a bully and push and push and push and then cry and complain so much when the kid finally learns some jujitsu and strikes back. You don't get to do that. So, yeah, that's that. Biblical literalism versus science. How do you reconcile Genesis with the evolution or 13.8 billion year old universe? Well, first off, you have to accept that that's fact. I don't know that it really matters. My brother and I are pretty much in agreement on this, and I say pretty much because maybe there's some things that I don't know, but I don't know how the Earth, having existed thousands, millions, quadrillion of years before this moment, or having existed 3 seconds before this moment, matters. I'm here. I'm recording a video, trying to understand some things. And if I was a scientist and I was trying to dig down to the bottom, maybe literally, maybe not, to the underside of these things and get to the foundation, maybe this stuff would matter to me. But there's still a lot of science that you can do where that doesn't matter. Like, what does it matter if the Earth is 13.8 billion years old, or 13.26 billion years old, or 12.75 billion? Or how does that change your day to day? Does it? Does it make you a better person knowing this, or doesn't? This says Catholics aren't typically literalists, thanks Augustine, and the church embraces science, Catechism 159. Yeah, that's for sure. But explaining how Adam and Eve fit with natural selection trips up some believers and fuels atheist jabs. I think some of it you have to look literally, and you can look at it, the stories, and some of it you can look at it through a Jonathan Pageau, Jordan Peterson type lens. And I think both work. And I don't know that getting really hung up on those things truly matters with what the Bible teaches. And if you say, oh, well, if that's not right, then how can I know that the rest of it is right? Well, how can you know that Martin Luther, if you're a Protestant, did you any favors if he had some completely off the rails, insane anti-Semitic stuff that he wrote, which is absolutely true? You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, that's that one. Exclusivity of salvation. If Jesus is the only way, John 14:6. What about good people in other religions? Vatican II, Lumen Gentium 16 softens this with invincible ignorance, but it's still a knotty issue when Aunt Linda's Buddhist and you're praying she's not doomed. This has come up recently, or at least in the last decade or so, when Pope Francis said that, or maybe it was even more recent than that, that all religions are paths to God. And Bishop Barron talked about this a little bit, kind of giving some people some clarification. There's some people that want the church, whatever that church is, whatever one that they're a part of, to come out and say fully, unequivocally, this is it. And everybody, there's a path to the top of the mountain, and at the top of the mountain is heaven. And if you walk this path, you will end there. And all the other paths won't even get you good scenery. They won't get you through the meadows. Forget the top of the mountain. They're going to the bottom under the mountain where it's burning lakes of fire, and that's your choice. It's a completely binary choice. It's either you choose the correct one, 2 + 2 = 4, or anything other than that. Whoops, my phone is being loud. Anything other than that is a complete, incorrect, wrong answer. I think that's what some people want. And I am of the opinion that it's kind of both at the same time. So Bishop Barron presented it as the Catholic Church offers the fullness. It is the most full version of the truth. And that doesn't mean that Buddhism or Protestants, whatever, anything other than the Catholic Church has some truths. There's a lot of religions that talk about don't steal from each other and be a good person and do unto others as you would have done to you, the golden rule. And so if you hear those things, and there's overlap, the Venn diagram, there's Catholic and there's the Protestant, there's some are going to have more overlap, but the Catholic Church, the way that Bishop Barron explained it, has the fullness, and they can back that claim up. I imagine is what he would say. He didn't in the video that I heard him talk about this, but I imagine what he would say is, we've got 2,000 plus years of history that's been working out with some hiccups, admittedly, but working out generally pretty good. Western civilization owes itself, certainly in no small part, and maybe in a very, very large way, to Catholicism, not Christianity broadly necessarily. Yes, Protestants have done a lot of great things in the past 500 odd years, but Catholicism specifically. We have science because of Catholicism. We have mechanical clocks. Some of the very first ones were made and designed by monks. So bringing this back around to question 5 here, the exclusivity of salvation, I think this might be the hardest one for me to answer on here, because I guess it depends on what you mean by salvation. And I do think that there is a correct answer, but I don't think that, setting aside the invincible ignorance, I'm not talking about the baby that dies. I'm not talking about the tribes people in wherever, the Amazon, that never even heard about Christ. I'm not talking about those people. Those you can use the invincible ignorance argument. I'm talking about people that they know of Christianity, they know of Catholicism, and they go, nah, not for me, for whatever reason. It's not the culture I grew up in. I looked at all these different things, and I decided that being a Mormon was the right path for me. Being a Scientologist, being a Jehovah's Witness, being Muslim. Is that person saved when the ultimate question is asked? I guess I have to default to ignorance. I don't know. My gut tells me no. I don't know what that ultimately means for that individual. And again, it comes back to, what does it mean by salvation? I'm not sure. That it is for sure a tough one. And it turns the whole pursuit of finding a religion, if that's something that you've even dabbled in or looked at, it makes it kind of daunting. But maybe I can kind of come at this question, now that I'm thinking about it, and I see the hat that I'm wearing right now in the background that I've got here. maybe I can come at this from another angle. Let's say that what I believe when it comes to monetary theory is correct, and that Bitcoin is the best answer for a savings device, a savings vehicle, the best form of money that has, as far as I know, ever existed for humanity. It's got the decentralized, it's got the verifiable nature, it's got all the things going for it that would make a really good money. Does that mean that other monies, I don't mean currencies, I mean monies, things that you can store your wealth in, homes, real estate, fine art, precious metals, gemstones, collectibles, etc. Does that mean those are all bad? When compared to the best, yes, they are bad. There are clear negatives to having a stamp collection in the Palisades of California versus having Bitcoin with a multi-sig setup that is globally distributed. So you've got one of your seed phrases stamped in metal in a home that you have in Cairns. You've got another one in your condo in Madagascar. And you've got a third one in your penthouse in New York, and you've got a fourth one in Mexico City. That seems like a way more secure, a way better way to store your wealth than having a stamp collection in a place that just burnt to the ground. If that was a majority of your net worth in that stamp collection, highly prized, deeply sought after, maybe along with some paintings, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. I don't even know if that's possible with stamps, but let's say it is. So you've got fine art as well, like I said, mixed in there. Seems like not the greatest proposition. But if there wasn't a fire in the Palisades and everything was hunky-dory and you could still sell it and there was a good market, well, it doesn't seem all that bad in comparison. It's only when things are tested, and I didn't mean to do this, but it's only when things are tested truly by fire that you go, okay, does this have the answers that I need? And maybe that's how I can answer this question. The Catholic Church, with its existence stretching back to the apostles, back to Jesus, stretching back more than 2,000 years at this point, pretty much has an answer for anything that your individual human mind could come up with. It doesn't mean necessarily that it is the correct, best possible answer, but they're going to have an answer. And there are other religions that have popped up last week that have been around much shorter time, that, for a much shorter time, that will not have an answer, or will have a answer that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense or doesn't really work. I'm thinking of religions like Scientology or maybe even Islam, and there are clear issues that Islam has. Being a Muslim comes with, at the very least, the stigma of, oh, are you going to go and strap a chest on and go blow up the mall? Whether or not that's a charitable representation of that religion is besides the point. It's a fact of the matter that people of that religion, and you could say, well, they're not real Muslims. Look, I don't know enough about Islam to really make these commentaries like I am, but I guess I'm doing it anyways. That argument doesn't really work, because that person that did that thing claiming to be of that religion, he thought he was, and he did that thing in the name of that God. So who are you going to believe? The person that did the thing with the writing and the on his head and then saying the things and with the chants and da or whatever, the prayers? Are you going to believe him, or the commentator on the news station that goes, well, that's not real stuff? My point here with talking about that at all is that maybe that particular religion and others maybe don't have as many good answers as you would like them to. And so if they don't have the answers, then they seem to be missing something. And if you look at what Catholicism begets when followed, and you're not stepping out of Christ's path. And you look at the cathedrals, you look at the work of Tolkien, you look at some of the music that's come out of the Catholic tradition, you look at the science, you look at the fruits of what the Catholic Church has brought about. It's hard for me to find another religion that has done as much for humanity as a whole as the Catholic Church. I struggle to find that religion, that way of being that has covered as many bases in as beautiful and in as beautiful a way. So that's what I would say as far as the exclusivity of salvation. That was my longest one yet. Transubstantiation. This one's so easy for me to answer. For me, my answer, what I say here, might not work for you, but it's really simple for me. How can bread and wine literally become Christ's body and blood? This core dogma, Catechism 1376, defies physics and senses. Catholics lean on faith in Christ's words, John 6, Last Supper, but it's a leap non-believers and even some Protestants mock or question. Okay. This one is so easy for me. All right. Here, look, I've got some coffee that I've been sipping on. Is it literally the work of farmers that have gone and planted beans in various places, and a cow that is it literally a cow that has walked across a field in, I don't know, let's say Wisconsin or something, and then it also literally a holding tank with rubber hoses and maybe some small amount of bleach in there? I don't know. Is it literally the espresso machine and all the components that I use to make this particular drink that was built in Germany, and the brass tubing that's in there, the boiler system to steam the milk? Is it literally the hydropower that I don't know where I live, I think it's hydropower, that went into the wires and the cables to turn the electricity on and also power the machine and boil the water? Is it literally the fire that was used to run the engine? I guess I'm using fire in a real loose term there, but the combustion engine and all of the experience and expertise and learning and knowledge that went into building the tires to transport the milk and transport the beans, and maybe it went on a boat. Is it literally the sea captain? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is literally all those things, and I know that for a fact because, well, there it is. I just put it in my mouth. I just tasted it. It is literally all those things. But at the same time, it's not. It's not all of those things in that cup, but yet it is. It is. This is proof positive that it is those things, all of that, and so many other factors, times an orders of magnitude that it's hard to even begin to comprehend. The tendrils of life that came in to give me that cup of coffee. It is literally all of those things. You might be saying, well, that's not really how that word literally means. Okay, maybe it's a stretch. I hope you see what I'm saying, though. I think you'd have to be a real dim person to not get my point here. It is literally those things, but it's also at the same time just milk and some beans that were ground up and put into a portafilter and then stuck on the espresso machine and hot water went through it. But even that is more than just coffee. If you want to look at it at the base level, okay, this is coffee and milk. It's a drink. This is a latte. That's the most simple explanation. What is that? It's a latte. A latte. There we go. That's the answer. Okay, but what does that mean? And you might go, okay, well, what does this have to do with the transubstantiation? Well, if there's a tradition that has been passed down since the Last Supper, which it seems like that's what's happening here with the communion with the Eucharist, and Jesus says, this is my body, this is my blood, the question to ask there is, what is means? That's part of it. And is it him saying that that makes it that, or is it already that? Was it that before he said it, or was him saying it what made it that? This kind of gets behind, but besides the point, and it doesn't ultimately matter. I think we're getting down into the weeds, and I think that for me, it's really quite simple, and it's this. There is a tradition that the church has been upholding, the Catholic Church. Protestants see it as a symbol, more or less, that no more, no less. They don't see it as the cannibalistic act that they claim Catholics are partaking in. But I don't see it as a cannibalistic act. I'm not a Catholic, but I don't see it that way. And I don't exactly see it the way that I've heard it explained as well, that it is the body of Christ, but the accidents it still seems like bread. I think it's somehow even more mysterious and grand than that. I think I take Christ at his word at the Last Supper when he says, "This is my body, this is my blood." Maybe I have that backwards, but when he says that, I take it at face value. And I don't know exactly what that means, just like I don't know exactly how Jesus ascended into heaven bodily. I don't know how exactly the Holy Spirit was the one to conceive himself in the womb of Mary. I don't know how Mary gave birth. Some people say she went through the ordeals of a typical woman, and it was painful and difficult and challenging. And other people say that just Jesus kind of appeared. I don't know, nor do I really care in a way that makes me go, I have to know the answers to these questions. I don't know. I can see it this way, I can see it that way, and kind of like what I was saying with the literalism versus science, I don't know that it really matters. Does it really matter how Jesus came out of Mary's womb? Does it matter if he came facing up or down or sideways? Does it matter if he had a hand over his face? Does it matter if his hand was this? Like, how far into the weeds do you want to go? Well, it really matters, because if he had his left hand near his nose, there's symbolic meaning to that, and it actually means, but if his thumb was turned inward toward his lips, then that means this. But now, if it was his right hand above his nose, but the left hand was also on his chest, it means, what are we doing? What are we doing here? How does this help you? What does that matter? Well, it matters. Have you run out of actual things to do in your day that you're sitting there piecing apart the placement of Jesus's hand when he came out of Mary's womb? Like, I'm missing something here. So I don't understand how Jesus was born. I don't know. I won't know. I don't understand how the Holy Spirit can be a unique being unto itself. I do not know how, or unto himself. I don't know how Jesus can be a unique being unto himself, the God-man. I don't understand how the Father can be a unique being unto himself, but yet they're all the same being. I don't think that my human mind can conceptualize that. I try, and I do my best, and I just go, ultimately I run into a wall and go, okay. Okay. It's like the infinity. You can't actually conceptualize infinity. No human can. Well, I don't think. Maybe there's some truly savant that goes, no, I understand infinity because I am infinity. Oh, okay, whatever. I have fun with Minecraft. All right, moving on. Papal infallibility. How can a human pope be infallible when popes have contradicted each other or made mistakes? Defined narrowly, Vatican I ex cathedra on faith and morals, it's still a stumbling block, especially when digging into medieval papal drama or modern ambiguities. Well, the way I understand this is it's really simple. The Pope is not infallible. If the Pope murdered somebody up there like if Pope Francis was coughing and he then in anger grabbed some nurse and then stabbed her to death, he's not infallible. There's only specific instances where papal infallibility comes into play, and it's not even the way this broadly defined way that people take it, like, oh, he's without sin and he can't ever make a mistake. No, it's when he is in it's a very specific situation, giving like I'm going to get the wording here wrong, I'm sure, but the way I understand it is when he's giving like an official decree, he's making an official proclamation in this specific situation, then that proclamation is without error. It has to be accepted that it is exactly as he says it, and there is no error in that. But leading up to that, I imagine there's a lot of contemplation, a lot of prayer, probably discussing with cardinals before he gives us. I don't think that he can just go and do this official, I'm going to use this word again, it's probably incorrect, but this official proclamation, this official decree, just on a whim and go, hey, I'm doing the official thing. I put on the official hat, official ring, hold the official staff, and I say, now all, I don't know, men between the ages of 12 and 42 have to come to Rome to enlist, or they are drafted into the Roman Catholic army, and that's the official infallible decree. I what? No, it's things like adding a new bit to a catechism, and on Sundays this thing will be added to the mass, or this thing. It's something like that, and it might even be things that are. For example, the luminous mysteries. Let me see here. When were the luminous mysteries added? That's not how you spell mysteries. Here we go. The luminous mysteries were added to the rosary on October 6, 2002 by Pope John Paul II. He introduced them in his I always mess up this word. This word. Apostolic letter, Rosarium Virginis Mary, the Rosary of the Virgin Mary, released on that date, which marked the beginning of his 25th year as Pope and the 120th anniversary of Pope Leo the 13th's encyclical, another word I can't pronounce. Anyways, on the Rosary. These 5 mysteries, the baptism, wedding at Cana, proclamation of the kingdom, transfiguration, and institution of the Eucharist, focus on Christ's public ministry. Okay. The addition wasn't without debate. Some traditionalists felt it disrupted a 500-year-old devotion tied to the 150 Psalms, but it was broadly embraced as a way to deepen meditation on Christ's life. That's the when and why of it. Anything else you want? Okay. So I don't know, but I could see how that could have been done in this official decree and or proclamation manner, and in that sense, they go, okay, he's infallible in making this proclamation. There's no error here, even if people don't like it. The official stance here is that this is now a official canon of the church. So that is my answer to these 7 things. I did a decent job. I'm proud of myself getting that done in less than 12 hours. Ugh. How much did I get wrong here? I know I really paused on the exclusivity of salvation. Do you think I made sense? Is any of this accurate? Am I way off base? Let me know. And yeah, if you want to have a chat about this stuff, whether on camera or off, keep it in the comments. Whatever. Let me know.